Hi, this is Lisa Rengel with Canadian Resumes, the premier executive resume writing company. And today we're going to talk about 5 things to not include in your resume. You know, there's a lot of information out there about what to include in your resume, how to make it noticeable by recruiters. But I want to point out today specifically what not to put in your resume and focus on these 5 things. So first thing to not put in your resume is obvious space wasting words. And by that I mean starting your resume with the word resume, or starting your summary with the word summary. That top third of your resume, the top third of your resume is prime resume real estate, and you don't want to waste it with these obvious words like resume and summary. Just start off with your contact information and then go right into a job title heading that shows exactly what type of job you're doing, 2 or 3 different achievements that support why you're qualified to do this target job that you've outlined in the heading. That's what you want to spend your top third of your resume space on. You don't want to waste it with these really lame, space wasting words like resume and so you don't want to do that. The second thing to not including your resume are tasks. Now, specifically under your work experience, you don't want to list tasks that you do in your job. I don't care how high, mid-level or staff level you are. It doesn't matter how high you are or what your job is. If you are listing tasks as your bullets under your job description, under your job experience sections, you're going to lose. And this is why. It's because your resume is going to be up against, tens, if not hundreds of other resumes. And if everybody's comparing the job bullets under each work experience, they're all going to look the same, right? If you're a marketing director, or you're an HR director, or if you're a CFO, or you're a mail clerk. I mean, the tasks that everyone is doing is roughly the same. So you're not differentiating yourself in any way. And then your resume just looks like a job description with somebody's name on top, and it doesn't really do anything. What you want to do instead is start write those bullets with achievements depicting how well you have done that particular task. So shift your resume over from a task-driven document to an achievement document. Don't just put tasks in your resume. That's the second one. The third item that you don't want to put in your resume is any schooling that's earlier than college. So, you don't want to put in grammar schools or high schools, even if they're really reputable and notable. I find that, it dates you, and especially if you're putting the dates. I mean, you definitely don't want to put them in and include dates because it's very unacceptable. It depicts age. You don't want to include that. So, and you want to focus on the relevant classes, what you've gotten out of it. As you advance in your career, simply just putting that you graduated from college is really all that's needed. You don't necessarily need a year, and you don't necessarily need your major if it's unrelated to what you do, and it's 20, 25, 30 years since you've graduated. So it's really about outlining that you graduated, but you don't want to put graduating college, that is. You don't necessarily by any means need to put anything earlier than college. So you don't want to put any earlier experience in college. So that's number 3. Number 4, the fourth item you don't want to include in your resume is any unrelated hobbies or unrelated work experience. Now, unrelated hobbies is an easy one to put on this list. It's taking up space and it's not selling you as to why you're, qualified for the job. Then don't waste the space that way. As for unrelated experience, work experience, this is a little bit dicey, but you want to always err on the side of not including what's unrelated, because it's just going to take up space and confuse the reader. Now, obviously, if you're trying to keep your resume in a reverse chronological order, if you're doing a career change, or you actually have a job in between positions that is not necessarily relevant to what you want to do, obviously you need to account for the time. It's always better to account for the time than leave a gap. However, when you're putting in that what is pretty much an unrelated work experience on your resume to keep that reverse chronological format intact, focus on the transferable skills that that particular job brings to the table. and your overall background in supporting the job that you're going for. So, you know, there's always exceptions to every rule, and this is one of them. You know, I'd rather you have an unrelated job than have a gap if it's going to lead you to have a gap. But make sure you're not including all this unrelated experience. Shift the experience, the wording of the bullets, to show the transferable skills that this particular experience has given you, and that will be sandwiched within the obviously the pieces of related work experience. So it really shows it's all part of the same you know, alignment. And then the fifth thing that you want to make sure you don't include in your resume are any clubs or associations that, you know, will tell the hiring manager or the reader information about you that should not be used in a hiring decision. You know, political affiliations, religious organizations that you belong to, you know, political clubs, that sort of thing. So because, you know, anything that's not to be included in a hiring decision, you know, religion or sexual orientation, you know, politics, that sort of thing, you want to make sure you're leaving that out. Now, again, an exception to this rule is if you're applying to an organization that supports one of those groups. Obviously, that would be an exception. And there's always exceptions to the rule. However, you know, typically, generally speaking, you know, keep your personal life personal, and more importantly, you don't need to include information in that. You know, a hiring manager is a human. Obviously, it's wrong for any of this information to be, you know, negatively factored into a hiring decision. But, you know, sometimes subliminal things happen, and it's clearly still wrong, but, you know, don't help the process by including it. So don't help that negative aspect of the process by including the information that shouldn't be factored in to any hiring decision whatsoever. So those are the 5 things that you should not include in your resume when you're writing it. And if you want to learn what to include in your resume in order to land 6-figure job interviews, then I'm going to encourage you to register for my next free training session. The registration link is in the description box right underneath this video, and you'll be able to grab your seat for that training session. And again, Lisa Rangel, Chameleon Resumes. If you like this video, I ask you to like it. If you feel like it'll help someone, I ask you to share it. And you know, look forward to seeing you on the training. Again, that registration link for that free training is right below this video in the description box. So have a great day, and thank you so much for joining me, and look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.